I don't know why you would want the freedom to bash somebody.
Big day yesterday. The National Labor Relations Board ruled that employers can no longer require their people to be quiet or sign non-disparagement clauses as part of their severance agreements. So in other words, laid-off employees can no longer be bribed into forfeiting their rights for compensation and other separation benefits. About freaking time. It sounds like great news, right? And it's a step in the right direction, but I guess I'm the only one that actually did the research here. Let me just add some details that you might be missing. You say, about freaking time. First of all, this was the law until 2020. They're just reversing it back. As you can see here, the National Labor Relations Board has returned to its pre-2020 standard, restricting certain confidentiality and non-disparagement clauses in departing employees' severance agreement. So before the year 2020, this was already the law. And for some dumb reason, they thought it would be a good idea to take this out. And then we had 3 years where apparently they interpreted the law as severance agreements are only unlawful if your company is doing illegal stuff. There was actually a two-part test. The first part was it required the employer offering the severance agreement to have discharged the employee in violation of the Labor Relations Act, or it committed another unfair labor practice discriminating against employees. And the severance agreement also had to show that the employer harbored animus, basically animosity towards people exercising their employment rights. I don't know how in the world you prove your company is harboring animus towards you, because if the company has good lawyers, good luck ever proving this. But anyways, now this is gone and it's back to how it was. Maybe you shouldn't ask people to not talk about their workplace when you're offering them money while you fire them. Companies can still make you sign non-disparagement agreements, just not when they're offering severance, as well as non-disclosure agreements. Another thing we should clarify here is what a non-disparagement agreement is. It is actually different from slander and libel. That is when you say something that is not true, but present it as fact. For example, when you say this man is a drug dealer, and that is not true, then that would be slander. Now, libel is just the written version of that. What non-disparagement means is that you can't say anything negative at all, even if it was true. Even if they treated you horribly and you can prove it, you can't talk about that at all. So that's the difference between the two. Now, let's say you go work somewhere and you sign those two agreements before they fire you. Now, when they decide to fire you, you've already signed the contract. You still can't disparage them because they haven't offered that with severance. Now, when you look at the comments, you'll see kind of two trains of thought. People going, wow, this isn't good news at all. And then people going, wow, I'm glad. This is a win for workers. And to be honest, they're both wrong, really. For example, this one here, this isn't the good news anyone thinks it is. Sure, now you can go off on a prior employer. But without a consideration in exchange for severance benefits, most companies will just not offer it or offer a far reduced legal minimum for the Warren version. People pushing this seem to be unaware of the very bad unintended consequences, or they don't care. Your argument is if companies can't bribe employees to not talk about what they experienced at their workplace, then companies have no reason to offer you any money when you leave. Now, of course, I can appreciate that cynical viewpoint, but we got to be a bit more balanced here, Aaron. There's a few things to consider here. The first one being here is that they're just reversing the law back to what it was. And before the year 2020, companies were giving severances without non-disparage agreements because it was illegal to do so. But also, there are still other reasons that companies offer severance packages. When you lay people off, the reason you give people severance is because it's cheaper than keeping them on the team. It fosters goodwill as a recruiting tactic. One company's offering severance to employees. Oh, wow, yeah, I'm probably going to go to the place that takes care of the people when they don't need them anymore. Another reason a company might offer severance is because they can use it like a settlement. If a company knows that they've wronged you in some way and they know that you have the potential to go sue them or something like that, they can just offer you a severance package so you don't take them to court. To me, this ruling sounds really, really great in theory. However, companies will still find a way around it. Sort of like the salary transparency law. You know, in some states where they require employers to disclose the salary range in good faith. Oh, and as for good faith, not every state has that clause, but New York does. And you would think it means it's a good faith effort to provide a reasonable salary range, right? Like it can't be too crazy, like $1 to $1 million, because obviously that's a ridiculous range and means almost nothing. Well, apparently that's not what it means. Good faith means the salary range the employer honestly believes at the time they're making the job advertisement, that's the amount they're willing to pay the successful applicant. So it has nothing to do with the salary range at all. It's just, are they willing to pay the salary range they list? And how do you prove that? I don't know. Good faith, I guess. It's ridiculous. Let me show you an example of what I mean. This is a senior technical writer position for Amazon. If you come down, the base pay for this position ranges from $125,000 a year to $211,000 per year. That's quite the range there. This is pretty much all companies are required to do. And at the end of the day, it still doesn't really do that much for you, because once you get to the job offer, once you go through the interview process, they can just change the salary range. And there's really nothing you can do about that. And some companies even virtue signal and say, wow, this is a good step for our employees. We're glad our employees have more protections, full well knowing that it doesn't really do that much for them. Listen, I'm not an employment lawyer. I'm just trying to do the research. Now, there are some people that are purely focused on the non-disparagement part of this ruling. And I've seen some people going, well, why would you want to talk trash about your employer anyways? Dave Ramsey's actually a good example of this. Someone calls in and they're like, should I sign a non-disparagement agreement? It's hilarious as Dave Ramsey struggles to answer that one.
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why you would want the freedom to bash somebody, and so
I was just thinking, yeah.
I mean,
Fair enough.
Look, I'm sorry. I didn't even intend to originally make this video about Dave Ramsey, but it's just like every time we look at employee law and people getting in trouble, it's just like greatest hits. You just keep coming back to them because the moments they share with us are just so insanely insightful. You just can't help it.
Everybody in our culture today seems to think they're an activist, and it's like your job to straighten everybody else's life out. I pay you money to feed your family, and if you're going to run me down, on social media, or your wife is, I'm going to fire your little stupid activist butt, and you deserve to be fired. And when you tear down the very place that's giving you money, that's ridiculous. And so you're not the kind of guy who's going to do that, but these are the kinds of things that are probably running through their mind. They run through my mind too. Because I've had to do that.
Pause. Editor Josh here. I just want you to note that Dave's coming at this with the perspective of an employee that is currently talking trash about the employer they're working for. I can kind of understand the whole don't bite the hand that feeds you, but sometimes enough is enough, and maybe the employee can't quit for whatever reason, and they just feel the need to speak out. Of course, I don't imagine those situations going very well for the person who said those things, even if what they're saying is completely true. But there's never the mention of the possibility of what happens if the employer treats the worker terrible. Because the worker has signed the non-disparagement agreement, short of breaking the law, they can never mention anything that happened. So I can understand the whole don't bite the hand that feeds you thing, but let's be real here, Dave. Did they bite you and then you fired them? Or did you fire them over something dumb and then you just said that they bit you? Sure, you're going to say it's your right because you own it, whatever. You could tell that to the judge. Apparently this person, Julie, was working at the Ramsey Solutions company, and then she realized that she liked women instead of her husband, I guess. The complaint goes on to say, rather than continue to live a secret life, Miss Stamps told her supervisor she was going to tell people about her orientation, and in response, her supervisor informed her that she had to give 2 weeks notice and an exit interview would be scheduled. Now, before June 15th of 2020, there was actually no federal law that said you couldn't discriminate based on someone's orientation. She planned for her last day to be June 19th, 2020, but after the U.S. Supreme Court issued an opinion ruling that discrimination based on homosexuality was a violation of Title VII, Julie Stamps was terminated on June 17th according to the lawsuit. If what Miss Julie Stamps is saying was true, and now we can only speculate if that's why he settled outside of court rather than going to trial. From June 30th, just this past summer, Dave Ramsey's company settled a lawsuit that alleged the Franklin Corporation pressured an employee to resign after the employee came out as a lesbian. The $76,900 settlement between Ramsey Solutions and Julianne Stamps concludes one of 3 federal lawsuits that former employees filed in the recent years. He said, I think the settlement provides the opportunity for people to see that Ramsey knows they did something they shouldn't have done. Ramsey Solutions declined to comment on the case or settlement. Of course they did. Of course. So to answer Dave Ramsey's question about why would you want to talk trash about your employer, I think we have great reasons why employees would want to be able to talk about their work experiences or even disparage them. Because again, disparagement doesn't mean slander or libel. You're not saying something that's untrue. If it's negative at all, that's disparagement.
And you should be fired. I mean, you're disloyal. You're a horrible employee. Now,
Dave Ramsey has an entire article about employee loyalty. So here it is. I got your 6. It's too bad Dave Ramsey's not on voice.ai because that would be some content right there. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'll do my own voice.ai. Let me turn Dave back on here. Okay. Hey, better than I deserve. I'm lucky I grew up in a high loyalty hillbilly culture. We great hillbillies will back our friends or family to the death. Even if our friends or family are wrong, we'll stand by them to the point of stupid. In my public life and even my private life, I've backed people who I shouldn't have. I partly take it too far out of loyalty and partly because I just don't want to be so quick to pile on like everyone else. And that is what I would want people to do for me. Innocent until proven guilty. But that's not what this is. We will back our friends and family to the death. Even if our friends or family are wrong, we'll stand by them to the point of stupid. That just screams like very, very toxic behavior. If you want loyalty, get a dog. This is my favorite part of the article right here. There's a lot of digital courage out there today, criticizing, piling on, gossiping, and hating while hiding behind an anonymous purple egg or avatar. I want to invent a new technology that makes every jerk on social media suddenly appear physically before the person they're mouthing off about. I think the people would be a lot nicer, and man, could we all use some of that? Is this new NLRB ruling something that is going to make all the difference in the world? Probably not. Are people still going to get severance? Probably. Companies that already offered it before the year 2020. Will there still be employees being silenced when they get fired? Absolutely. Here's how you can really know if one of these rulings that all the employees get excited about is legitimate or not. Just look to see if other companies and their HR departments are also celebrating the win for workers. Virtue signal. You got to appear like you're on your team's side, right? Because it's classic corporate. Click that like button if you enjoyed it. Click that subscribe button if you want to see me take on the corporate world some more and call this sort of manipulative stuff out. If you have anything else you'd like me to take a look at or roast on the channel, you can email it to me. I have Discord, Instagram. All the links for that stuff is down in the description. There's some stuff in there that supports the channel as well. Having said all that, I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next one.